I cannot draw clothes to save my life. I just end up making these black blobs that vaguely resemble clothing. If you look at my past attempts at a manga, they're severely lacking in a thing called detail or intrigue. They are dresses that obscure all the hard parts to draw, but I want to get better at drawing clothes and giving them the depth they deserve to make them look like real clothes, and not just a piece of cloth slapped on a person. And I found the perfect manga to study from. Kamina Botan fully blossoms when drunk by Hey, one of my favorite Yuri manga. Here are my top 5, by the way. I love the adult cast and the overall chill vibes, and then of course the Yuri. How can you forget the Yuri? So what can I say, man? I just love reading Yuri manga. I eat this stuff up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If it looks even remotely interesting, I will hunt it down to read it. And we will not be getting into the optics of a guy liking Yuri because that's not what this video is about, and it also doesn't matter. You're here today to study Kamina Botan's excellent outfits and how to use them to level up my own outfits for characters. The anime inspired me to reread the series because, God, the anime is so good. But anyways, after rereading it, I was drawn to the simple but incredibly effective outfits the characters wear that look so simple on the surface but convey whole outfits with the range of expression allowed in manga clothing. So to begin with, let's break down how the outfits are drawn, because we need a foundation before we can start building. But first, wait, is that Hatsune Miku? The first most obvious contrast between my own manga outfit designs and Kamina Botan's is that Botan's have good color balance. No color overwhelms the other, and they're clearly divided to help the viewer understand the various pieces of the outfit. Take this outfit for example. It features a coat, sweater, skirt, and leggings, and yet they all look like distinct articles of clothing. Whether that be through color separation like the black skirt and screen tone leggings, or through line work to define the distinction between the sweater and the coat. Admittedly, the skirt does help the color divide since it overlaps two articles of clothing, but my point still stands because Botan does predominantly white outfits often. Oftentimes the outfits are a white or screen tone shirt and then black pants, skirts, leggings, or whatever other type of pant you can wear. Sometimes it'll add an undershirt just to add more intrigue to the outfit, but the key detail is that the colors never overwhelm each other. There's balance and separation. Going deeper to the articles of clothes themselves, Hay draws the distinct features of the clothes, like these lines for the sweaters. I don't know what the actual name is for them on sweaters, but when I look at them I go, ah, that's a sweater. Or for this striped shirt, Hay draws the lines across indicating the pattern of the sweater. The key thing to know about all the clothes in Kamina Botan is that they convey enough information to the reader to understand what is going on or what the outfit is without going overboard and becoming a total mess. The only outfit I think is close to being a bit hard to read is the scarf one, but even then the scarf is well defined, and also it's a winter outfit. That is the time of year when you can just pile on clothes to stay warm. That is kind of just what I do as well. But what drew me to studying Hay's clothes drawings was the simplicity of the folds and creases. So many manga outfits feel impenetrable because they're these walls of folds where I don't know where to start. But with Kamina Botan, they feel simple and well defined, but show an intentional craftsmanship that makes sure they're true to life. The lines are simple and a bit messy, but they convey the information they need to. I'm always looking for a way to make things simple because when I have to draw a lot of manga pages, I want the process to be as smooth as possible. I also just need to learn how to use screen tone because I understand and can see its broad application because it is everywhere, but I've never really played around with it, and Kamina Botan makes ample use of it in the clothing and really everything else, as does every manga ever. So for my studying, I wanted to do something simple. I'm just going to take characters I like and draw them in new outfits I find on Pinterest or Twitter or their source material, but we'll try to make them in the Kamina Botan style. However, at least initially, I'm going to try and integrate something a little special into them. You see, a very frequent page type in Kamina Botan is the knees up shot with the panel surrounding it. The story continues, but the emphasis is drawn towards the outfit of the character. So I'm going to try and make side studies like this to make them a little more distinct than just character drawings. Without further ado, let the studying begin. And the first attempt already beat that manga panel idea out of me because of two things. One, I have to make up story to tell, which is a lot of effort for characters with pre-established backgrounds, many of which I am not up to date on. I just like the way they look. And two, I did this first one on Procreate, which hates when I use a lot of layers. So I only got through a panel before it started crying for help, and anytime I would erase it would take 5 seconds. But besides that, my first piece was with my go-to character, Rosaria from Genshin Impact. In my roster of anime girls I like to draw, she is up there despite not having played Genshin in like 3-4 years. I found the outfit and pose reference from Pinterest, and honestly, I think it turned out pretty well. It definitely gives Rosaria a different vibe, but she looks cute like this too. I tried using the clone tool in Procreate on a slab screen tone I ripped from somewhere, and boy oh boy, that was a struggle. I saw it on Twitter because someone did it for like jeans, and I think, at least in my case, the muddy tone still kind of works. It does make it look like a distinct article of clothing, but trying to apply this evenly was a nightmare. And I eventually just realized you kind of just need to make the clone base as big as the area itself you're trying to cover, and then just slather it on top, and then erase whatever you don't want later. As for the drawing itself, I think the white lines for the skirt could be a bit thinner, maybe just go a bit darker to not stand out as much. They also should probably go to the bottom of the outfit, but I just went over my line art with white to define it. I just think they could use more intentionality. They feel very wispy in a way that I have a nagging feeling about, which is really just line confidence that I need to work on. The sleeve folds look good, but are a bit muddled by the screen tone, which is more of the screen tone's fault than mine, but still some of my fault. But the overall outfit looks good, and even the hair feels distinct, but it does make me realize that if I want to do pure black hair, it needs to be distinct and have good shape language. I love the one different color strand, although it definitely should be screen tone. The eyes I tried to emulate Kamina Bouton style, while the mouth ref is my attempt at one from the manga. Overall, a pretty good first attempt. The little manga panel, however, is a lot less so, but it's there. I definitely drew one manga panel out of many. I probably could have just done black boxes if making a mini story was too hard, but you can see where I stopped. So what did I learn from this first attempt? In the process of drawing it and comparing my reference to the manga, I noticed that Hay is not afraid to highlight the way clothes change shape. All of my outfits prior are these rigid blobs that overtake the clothes, but Hay has the folds define the outlines of the silhouette. Take Akari in this outfit. Besides looking divine, the shape of the sleeve is going in all sorts of highs and lows. It feels like fabric, or at least something with character instead of just a thing covering her arm. And this makes sense because clothes do this too. Just look at me standing here. You can see the clothes overlap and all have these distinct shapes. It feels obvious in hindsight because, like, duh, that's how clothes work. But actually translating it to a drawing is a skill of its own. But what better way to practice than with just drawing another character? If at first you don't succeed, just try again. My second character was Oro Kuroni from Hololive English Promise, a character who I've almost exclusively drawn in the manga style entirely unintentionally, but has now become intentionally because I want to make one that looks good enough, if that makes sense. Like, I want to make a really good one. But this time, instead of doing manga panels, I used her tweets because my mind called the helmet tweet to mind, and I went, that's kind of manga panel shaped. I can work with that. And while it's no manga short story, it's funny, so it's fine. As for the outfit, I got the reference from Pinterest as well, and I kind of cooked with it. Like, I think it generally looks really good for my skill level. I think I did well with the shape and color design. I think the fold lines could be a little less wispy in places, but it's okay for what it is. My most glaring issue is the hair, which is something I'm keenly aware I need to work on. I used the reference for Kuroni's casual outfit for this piece, but it doesn't have a reference at that angle, and you can tell because I really struggled with it. Although I think besides the hairband area, it's pretty alright. The face could use some work, but I think that's partially the fault of the lack of reference angle and me just not knowing what to do. But it was at this point that I was consumed by the desire to keep drawing. These drawings are fairly quick to do, there's no intricate coloring or rendering, it's just manga style, so the next day I just hopped on and did another one. This time I was intent on giving Akaria from Kamina Bouton a new outfit, yet again from a picture I just found on Pinterest. I think the overall outfit shape here is pretty good, but again I think the fold lines could be cleaner. I might just need a thicker brush or maybe a good old thin hard round brush attack. Maybe one of the different pen types will help, I'll just kind of have to experiment with that. The screen tones for the outfit worked really well, and the sweater texture kind of worked. I did end up looking back at how Hay does it, and it looks more like solid erasing than the textured one that I did, where I just drew lines up and down the whole way and then grabbed the soft eraser and just kind of went over it, which kind of keeps the outline of the lines, which is not what it is in the manga. I also probably could have continued the lines to make it look less like I'm afraid of drawing over the other part of the outfit, because I can always just erase. And again, the hair is my weak point, but the hair in Kamina Bouton, especially Akari's, is very strand heavy, which is still a struggle for me because it is a lot of info to process. But it looks okay, all things considered. It vaguely resembles her hair, and right now I'm focused on the clothes, not the hair. We'll get to the hair eventually. It was here that I stepped back again to reflect on where I can grow, which is primarily that I need to refine my line work. I think they're rough and at times it is okay and works, but a lot of times it feels like my lines are non-committal. They're vaguely intentional, but don't feel like a confident mark to define the fold, but instead a quick scratch to call it good. Some of which could be remedied by taking my time with the lines or doing what Suishida does, where he does a double line for something to give it more distinction, or just builds the lines through many other, like several smaller lines. All things to try for the future. I was really going to end with this attempt, but the drawing devil possessed me again, and I was having fun with these quick drawings to help me practice. So I drew Tenochtitlan from Fate Grand Order. This time I leveled up the difficulty a bit. This time the pose was half from a craft essence, where you can see about half to 2/3 of her body mixed with her base art to fill in the rest. As you can see, I tried a little hatching shading with the inspiration intent being from how Kubo shades in Bleach. At least one of the ways he does a lot of them. I like the defining line and the hatching, and honestly, I think this section of the boob shadow looks genuinely really clean. However, the rest of the shading is very hit or miss. I think the dress part is spotty, but my reference also doesn't show half the fold, so I kind of had to wing it, and it shows because I don't really know how that would look. As for the outfit itself, I think it looks really cute and pretty solid, even if it is a bit simple. The hair piece is a bit bad, but overall, the face and hair are okay. Although I'm noticing I forgot to fill in one of the strands. Oops, my bad. The one area I struggled a bit with was how to draw Tenochtitlan's multicolored hair, since it is much more sporadic than Croni's or Rosaria's, where it's either just the underside of the back of the hair or a singular strand that is well defined. So ultimately I just hatched it and made it a little bit brighter, but I think there's definitely a better solution to that. But overall, a pretty solid piece. And well, now that I've got 4 pieces done, I might as well do 5 for a good round number, and because I just want to do another one. But first, one last study time, just because. Again, I think if thinner white lines for black clothes folds would probably help. There's a balance needed that I think I will find with trial and error. Because you don't want too small, it's hard to read, but you don't want too big where it feels like it's taken on a life of its own. The lines can also be messy, but they need to not be half-assed. You gotta keep it simple, but also readable. And I also should come prepared with references, ideally multiple. All of these drawings have been preset poses, so the heavy lifting is done, but that won't always be the case. But I can still do my best to set myself up for success. And lastly, it was look for the defined shapes in the clothes, break it down into simpler shapes if needed, but don't be afraid to add things like asymmetry to make it more stylized. That may have sounded all very terse and like I was just listing off things to remember, and well, you'd be correct, because that's exactly what that was. There's merit in just laying all the cards at the table and understanding the hand you can play. It also helps to verbalize things to work on them so they stick in your mind better and longer. That is like a scientifically proven thing to do. Like writing it down, speaking it will help you remember it, even if only 1% more. And with that out of the way, my final attempt for this video is John Alter from Fate Grand Order. This time I used the textured pen in Clip Studio Paint and not the real G Pen, because I was playing with it and definitely didn't forget to switch back to the G Pen for it. So we just kind of ran with it. For the pose, I took half of the Ordeal Call 2 Jalter design and mixed it with her summer design and had her holding her sword by her side because I kind of thought it looked cool and it was more visually interesting than just standing there. But now that I think about it, she's kind of doing the thinker pose, but like standing up. The overall pose is kind of cool, even if the face is definitely not Kamina Botan style. She kind of looks like the side view of that one Speed reaction image. The outfit I simplified a bit because it has a lot of colors and I wanted to focus on the overall outfit. I definitely didn't forget about them, no way. But I did just make the outfit pure black because the lining on the end seemed like a pain and it was very thin and I just wanted to make it black. I thought it looked cooler too. The skirt is a bit different from the reference, but could be better with some shading, but I couldn't get the shading look right, so I just scrapped it. The line work was a bit better, but the hairlines could use a little bit more work. Part of this though is that I got rid of the flowy back hair from Summer Jalter because I couldn't get it to look good, but I countered this with the flag pattern shapes outlining her. And lastly, the sword length is a bit off because I don't really know how long the sword is that she has in her summer alt. The black sheath was a choice for me, but it looks surprisingly decent. I made it longer later, but I still think it could be a little longer. Kind of just a vibe-based length. And with that, I put a pin in this drawing exercise and sit back to reflect. The issue with my manga character designs was never using black. Manga is black and white. It was using only black to attempt to obscure a lack of skill. I didn't want to draw clothes, so I just made these big black cloths that cover all the hard parts to draw. When in reality, that's stifling my own growth because it's refusing the hard part when the hard parts need to grow. And a good outfit doesn't need a million colors to look good. It just needs balance and good shape design. It needs to look like a real article of clothing that a person could wear. And if that's because it's referenced from a real outfit, then fine. Numerous mangaka use real outfits for reference, especially shoujo manga where the number of outfits is vastly higher than that of a shonen manga. But even if the character is wearing only one outfit, there needs to be intentionality about why they're wearing it and why. It needs to fit them as a character, and you can do that through good character design, but also through full and crease lines to get a form and make the clothes feel real and like they fit the character that was wearing them. And this will take more effort to draw, but it's worth it in the end, and the more reps, the easier it will become. But just avoiding the problem won't actually solve anything. If you look at the outfits I drew for my first manga and the one I drew for this video, the difference is night and day. The characters look so stylish and exude a presence about them, which is partially because they're just real outfits that have some style and not just blobs of clothes. The screen tone definitely helps define the outfits more, but even just the lines to get a form adds so much to make the character feel alive. This isn't to say you need to use screen tone to make it look good. I want to eventually make a video on Hunter x Hunter's character designs because they're almost all exclusively black and white and yet are still so distinct and rich. But all of the outfits have balance and clear intent behind their designs instead of mine, which are mostly just things that would be easy to draw and it would end up overlapping and making the hair and the clothes feel like one muddled mess. Another thing I realized through this practice was I've become a hard round brush truther, especially for sketching, just like the very rough sketch. It helps me feel looser and less focused on gritty details out the gate and instead just on the overall shape of the piece. It also forces me to make choices about the line art when I finally get around to that, since I use a decent sized round brush that leaves a lot of wiggle room for the place of the thinner lines. But now that my realization's out of the way, time to debrief on this exercise because I think that's important. I definitely still need to practice manga style drawings because I think my line work is still very simple, and when I look at the mangaka I admire, they're much more ornate with their lines. I don't want to accept my current level as mine when I haven't tried all the different ways of drawing. But the nice thing about practicing like this is that it only took an hour or two, since it's basically just a character illustration with no background and minimal color, unless I want to make one, which is really up to me. And these exercises give me both character drawing and manga drawing experience, which collectively adds to my growth. If I add the Rosario one a few times where I tell a mini story, then I'm basically just making a short manga too. Granted, that will add much more time because it requires thinking of a story too, but I fit all these drawings in after my main drawing days on my days off from work, so I can definitely fit in more amidst my other projects. As I've said before, there's always a way to make time to draw, even if it is only a little bit. It's very fun to me to reflect that I started on this drawing journey with the low goal of drawing at least 30 minutes a day, and now I consistently at least double that. And honestly, 30 minutes starts to feel like nothing. I put on a 30-minute song compilation about drawing recently, and time flew by to the point I audibly went, damn, that was 30 minutes? In shock at how fast time had flown. But at the end of the day, it's 30 minutes of drawing that stacks. There's merit in doing this repeated practice. It's a short process, but it is a finished piece, a simple piece, but a finished piece all the same. And I've been reading Haikyuu and I've had that reminder ingrained into me that even if it doesn't look perfect, as long as I keep trying again, I will improve. After a year and a half of drawing, I'm hooked and I really want to keep pushing myself to improve and to probably work on drawing hair from different angles next. Or maybe making a short manga like Kamina Botan, but about a thing I'm interested to get more repeated practice with drawing clothes, scenes, and everything in between. Who can say? Who can say where my creativity will take me, but needless to say, it will take me somewhere.